Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's live stream. Great to be back on here with everyone. We've got some updates that have come in throughout the day. We've got new data that is coming in this evening as well. So we're going to be covering all that. We'll be here probably for about the next hour. If you're just joining, be sure to hop in the chat. Let us know where you're watching from. We will be taking your guys' questions here on this live stream this evening. So great to be on here with everyone. Give it just a few more minutes, let people get on here, and then we'll kind of dive right into the latest updates. We've seen quite a few different changes take place today. We've seen changes in both the track. We've also seen some changes in the amounts of precipitation that we're going to be seeing. And, you know, we're still a couple days away. We're going to really start seeing some fine-tuning coming in here really in the next 24 to 36 hours as far as really trying to nail down the track here. So, but thank you so much for tuning in. I am meteorologist Joseph Pisani here with you guys this evening. If you're new to the channel, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button so that way you get notified when we are live here on YouTube. Also, be sure to check out our Facebook page, facebook.com, Extreme Weather Videos. But let's kind of dive in to some of the latest information. So the biggest change that you probably have seen today if you've been monitoring social media at all is that we've seen a northern shift in the forecast track on some of our computer models. Not all of the computer models, but there are some that have really shifted the track of our storm about 150 miles to 200 miles further north than what it was last night when we were here. So that's a pretty significant change. That could change back. There are a couple different reasons that we've seen that shift. First of all is the forecast now has basically a small low pressure system that develops right along the Gulf of Mexico Gulf Coast, which is going to basically the high pressure system. That ridge isn't going to get quite as far south if that type of scenario were to develop, meaning the precipitation could be further north than what we saw last night. That doesn't mean that we're out of the woods here in Georgia. We're definitely not out of the woods. Winter storm watches have already been posted for a wide swath of the country. Let me kind of show you here exactly what we're looking at as far as this. This just shows you how impactful that this storm is going to be. I mean, we are going to be seeing this from New Mexico all the way here through the Carolinas. So again, this is a huge winter storm, and you can see here this does include multiple counties across North Georgia. It does not currently include the metro Atlanta area right now. But again, I think that they will continue adding counties as the forecast gets refined. Believe it or not, tomorrow, the hurricane hunters, yes, you heard me right. The hurricane hunters are going to be taking a mission into the storm, flying out into the developing low pressure system that's right now over the Pacific Ocean that's going to be moving into New Mexico and Arizona on Friday. So we can kind of start getting some of that data so we can really get a better handle on the track of this storm, because that track is still, you know, between the different models, like I said earlier, it's 150, 200 miles difference. So we really want to see a little bit more consistency with the track and not be seeing these huge jumps and shifts in the track from the south to the north. And then, again, like I said earlier, this could easily jump right back to the south. So this is definitely something that we are going to really be keeping an eye on as we go through the next couple of days here. So here is basically our big system. there's this low that you can see here. This is what we're talking about. It's still not even over the United States. It's still out here west of California. So that's the low pressure system that we're going to be watching move ashore, that they're going to be going to investigate. So, and that's what's going to be eventually making our big weather maker here coming across the U.S. as that trough really digs in and this ridge here. So that's something we have to watch for. Give me just a second, guys. I'm not seeing y'all's comments on here. So that way I can make sure I can see your guys' comments on here. Let me pull this up in a separate window here. Okay, there we go. There we go. Okay. Fantastic. All right, cool. Just wanted to make sure that I was getting these comments on here. I'm seeing them come in now. I was not having them. So we should be here now. We're all good to go. Thank you guys for your patience. All right. So as you can see here, winter storm watches have already been posted for pretty much all of North Georgia, just north of the counties. What you'll notice is we don't have any warnings. We don't have any ice storm warnings or anything like that, which I do think we'll start seeing those out here in Texas definitely by probably Thursday night into Friday morning, and then spreading eastward with time. So the big story here for today is we've seen this shift in the forecast. And that is coming from our European model. Now, the European model is one that we typically do tend toward trusting a little bit more than the American model when it comes to these winter storms. It typically just does a better job. It's more reliable, I'd really say, in the last 5 to 10 years. So seeing this huge jump in the winter storm forecast track is actually, especially in the European model, whereas the GFS model still does keep it further south than the European. That's, I think, one reason why they are sending out that Hurricane Hunter reconnaissance mission tomorrow, to really get a better idea so we can really put some good data into these forecast models to give us a better idea on the track. So this is kind of the latest forecast model that we have right now. Let me focus in here on, we'll start in the southeast, then we'll come even closer, and we'll look here at Georgia. So we're going to have a lot of rain tomorrow throughout the day, on and off, like we talked about. Scattered, it won't be continuous, but it'll be on and off throughout the day tomorrow. Friday, we could have a little bit of rain on Friday, and then you can see here Friday into Saturday morning. Friday night and Saturday morning, here's our snowstorm and ice storm out here to the west. Again, this is the Euro, so it really gets cranking on Saturday out there in Arkansas and northern Mississippi. And you'll see here we have this this is what we were talking about earlier with this low pressure system that is now being picked up, which is going to transport that warmer Gulf moisture north, especially in southern Mississippi, southern Alabama. Do I think that it'll get all the way up here like we're seeing into Tennessee? I don't think so. But one thing I want to focus on, specifically, I can see your guys' comments now, just so you know. Yes, I can see your comments. One thing I want to focus on specifically here in Georgia is you'll still see this red shading. That, again, is ice that we're seeing here. This is Sunday morning at about 4 a.m. in the morning. So Gwinnett County, DeKalb County, really the northeast side and the eastern side of Atlanta still getting in on that ice. And the reason that this happens here with this scenario is we have what is called cold air damming that takes place. So we have the Appalachian Mountains that run pretty much through northeast Georgia and into the Carolinas, and then there's even some more in northwest Georgia into northeast Alabama, basically the foothills of the Appalachians, right? So we have that warm, moist air that is coming up from the Gulf of Mexico, but from the mountains, we have cold air that is funneling down the valley and pushing south. So this is why we're still seeing here this icing threat, while off to the west of Atlanta, it's showing as rain. Because that cold air damming, it really will depend on how far south that cold air damming pushes the below freezing temperatures. If it's stronger, that ice is going to push further south, possibly still as far south as Macon, definitely not off of the question. So that is something we're going to have to keep an eye on. Again, by tomorrow, we're going to really start getting into some of our high resolution model data. But I did want to show that there is that cold air damming still in place. We might see a brief change from that freezing rain to some rain on Sunday afternoon and evening. Some of the models actually have us getting up to about 40 degrees on Sunday. I think that's a little bit excessive. If so, it would be, maybe for a brief hour. But then what the other danger is if it does start as freezing rain, transition to rain, and then as soon as this front comes through, transition back to freezing rain and maybe a little bit of snow on Sunday night into Monday morning. Well, we already have a layer of ice on the ground. Here, I'm going to flip this back. We already have a layer of ice on the ground. We get a little bit of rain to come down and land on top of that ice. So it's still going to freeze on contact if there's already ice on the ground, even though it's coming down purely as rain. And then later that evening, we're going to have a really bad flash freeze, especially Monday morning and Tuesday morning. So Monday, we're going to have temperatures in the low 20s. And then Tuesday morning, we could very well, which is something that has changed again from last night, we could possibly be having temperatures into the single digits in some places on Tuesday morning. We're talking maybe 5 to 9 degrees. Wind chills could get close to zero. In the northern parts of Georgia, we could see wind chills below zero. Up in places like Toccoa, Hartwell, Ellijay, those areas could have wind chills below zero on Tuesday morning. So take a look at this. This is the temperature forecast here for the southeast that we're looking at. So obviously we can see it's nice and moderate, right? On Friday into the Saturday morning, we're in the 40s. Here's that cold air that is up to the north. And you'll see basically on Saturday morning, it still has us at about 37 degrees, maybe 30, a little cooler out in the suburbs out east in like Loganville, Athens, maybe down closer to 35 out there on Saturday morning. And then you'll see that cold air damming kind of taking place. Look up here in the mountains how it's 30, but look here off to the west, Birmingham. I mean, if it's 50 degrees in Birmingham, it's definitely going to be more of a rain threat. And that, I think, is why they haven't pushed those winter weather advisories further south into our area yet, because there's still a little bit of uncertainty in the forecast now with this low pressure system developing over central Alabama and central Mississippi, pushing off to the east and north, pulling warmer air up from the Gulf of Mexico for a brief period of time before that cold air, really, you could see here from west to east, comes crashing in Sunday night into Monday morning, causing those flash freezing situations. And then Tuesday, we're still below freezing Tuesday afternoon here, about 29 degrees. And then Tuesday morning, again, really getting cold. So that's one model. The other model I want to look at, again, is the GFS, because the GFS is still keeping us really in line with a more southern track. The GFS, believe it or not, right now is being a little bit more consistent than the European, which is kind of weird because typically it's flip-flopped, where the European's more consistent and the GFS is kind of shifting the track all over the place. So this is definitely an interesting storm scenario that we're seeing. Let's kind of get back over here. Let's go to our winter weather. I want to take a look at our ice forecast, because that, again, here in Georgia where we're all at, that is going to be the big story. Snow forecast going to be, again, meager. If we get an inch at the very tail end of this thing, I'll be shocked. But here again, this is the GFS. So you can see here, don't let your guard down because you see social media posts showing one model, the Euro, pushing everything much further north. The GFS, this is the latest GFS from this afternoon. It still has Atlanta getting nearly an inch, potentially, of ice. Okay? So it is not nearly off the question that we're still going to get significant icing here right through Atlanta over to Athens and then into South Carolina. Seeing some of these highest ice totals on the GFS with this run. I'm kind of curious. I want to go back to the previous run. So yeah, from the earlier morning run, believe it or not, the GFS has increased the ice totals for Atlanta over to Athens from about 1.15 inches on the 12Z run, and we come to the 18Z run of the same thing, and now we're up another tenth of an inch to 1.25. So sometimes we really have to take a look at the trends, and not just at one model. We have to take a look at the trends at multiple models. So here is, again, even earlier, where it had the worst of the icing west of Atlanta, right? So the trend has been, with the GFS at least, has been bringing the ice back over Atlanta and increasing those totals over Atlanta. Nick asks if I'm going out. I might be going out potentially on Saturday morning, just kind of locally, if I can. But we'll kind of play it by ear, and we'll be ready to go at a moment's notice. I'll have all the equipment ready for the live stream and everything like that. So worst comes to worst, though, we'll probably go at least out toward the end of our road in our neighborhood and stuff like that. So we'll have some kind of a live stream out in the element showing what's going on. So that is the current thinking. Brian Hersey, yeah, not looking forward to losing power. Hope everyone has their generators. Yeah, if you have, that's actually one thing that I did today is I went out and got about 20 gallons worth of gas for my generator. So if you have that, really tonight after we get off this live stream, go do that, because I think by Friday and Saturday, if this does end up verifying and we get placed under those winter storm warnings or ice storm warnings potentially, that's when there's going to be that mad dash. So being prepared ahead of time, definitely not a bad move. Worst comes to worst, you're going to have yourself some gas for the spring mowing season coming up here in about 3 months. So excellent comments there. Also, I'll say too, I posted this in a group chat earlier, but there's really some things you really need to be thinking about. Not only do we need to be thinking about loss of power potentially for, in some places, somewhere, it's going to be a week, maybe even more if we have significant infrastructure damage. So having, some sort of plan for, being able to charge your phone, whether that's through your car or through generator or those power banks or different things like that. Having a way to keep yourself warm, space heater, fireplace. If you have a fireplace and you have firewood, get that into a dry place tonight. We're going to be seeing that rain tomorrow, so you don't want your wood wet. So if you have it outside and it's not covered, get that wood into a dry place, either in your home or in your garage or something like that. I would get that in tonight. I moved about 100 pieces of firewood into our house today, just to have it ready, with the rain that is going to be coming tomorrow. So tomorrow's going to be kind of a miserable day here across Georgia, is what we're looking at. All right, let's kind of jump back into our models. Let's get a little bit closer. We'll kind of focus here on this is into Georgia, South Carolina. So you can see here is Atlanta. Here's Athens. Over here will be like Loganville and Monroe, those areas. Lilburn's kind of up here in Gwinnett County. So I want to take you back to our blend of models. I love using the blend of models because it kind of combines all of the different models into one, right? So the GFS, the Euro, the Canadian model, all of those kind of get blended together. So this, again, still showing, a solid 1/4 of an inch to maybe 4/10, possibly even higher of an inch of ice for Atlanta. So that's why I'm saying, so the GFS shows 1.2 inches. The Euro is showing very little, about 1/10 of an inch. So it kind of takes all the different and blends it all together. So that's why I'm saying, even though the track has shifted north in some models, not all models, some models, we're still seeing a very real threat of a significant ice storm here for our area. Holly, great to have you on the live chat. Thanks for tuning in this evening. Will natural gas be affected? Typically, it won't be because just the way it is. Even with a long duration freeze that we have, it won't be affected. The only thing that's going to be affected with natural gas is going to be your natural gas bill. Because if you have like a natural gas fireplace or something like that, and you're running that, 24/7 or something like that, you're running that lot, that gas bill is going to be high. Yeah. So you should be able to use gas logs. You shouldn't have a problem with that. Yeah, definitely. So that's another great question about flushing the toilet. So if your outdoor water pipe does freeze, that's going to cut off the water feed into your home. It really depends on how deep your water line is buried in your front yard or in your backyard, wherever your water comes in. Typically, if it is a few feet, like 2 or 3 feet below, it's going to be a little bit harder for it to freeze. But that's why I would recommend, if you have an extra tub in your house that you're not using for showering, go ahead and fill that up with water. That's what we used to do when I lived in Miami, and we'd have hurricanes come through and be planning for power outages or, water outages. Would be having a tub filled with water that you can then get buckets and dump it into, use it to flush the toilet and stuff like that. How long will travel be impacted after the storm moves through? That is an excellent question. So the storm is going to be moving through Saturday into Sunday. Primarily on Sunday is going to be the big day. But travel, I really truly believe in my heart of hearts that travel is going to be basically very extremely limited across the Atlanta metro area till at least Tuesday afternoon, possibly Wednesday afternoon. It's really going to depend on how much ice falls and how warm we get on Tuesday afternoon. So let's take a look at some of these temperatures to kind of dive into that a little bit. Again, this is the blend of models temperature, so kind of just an overall average what we're seeing here. So here is Saturday at 7 a.m. So we're at about 40 degrees here in Atlanta, 39 degrees in Lilburn, over toward Loganville, 38 degrees in Monroe and Athens, right? So a little bit cooler, 33 degrees up here in Greenville. And this is going to be really important here that we keep an eye on what is going on to our northeast specifically. So if we start seeing rapid temperatures drop up here in Greenville, South Carolina, that's going to let us know, hey, that cold air damming is happening a lot faster and maybe a lot stronger than originally thought, or if it's not, that's going to then be the good news for us that, hey, we might be able to keep ourselves above freezing for a few more hours on Saturday, right? So again, 33 degrees up here in Greenville, 39 to 37 in Atlanta. This is the blend. This is not guaranteed. It could be colder. It could be a little bit warmer. But by Saturday evening, once that sun sets, we really start seeing those temperatures dropping. That's when we're going to have that rain changing over to freezing rain, right? So regardless, even if we let's say we don't have 24 hours of freezing rain. Let's say we have 6 hours of freezing rain or 8 hours of freezing rain. And we only get 1/10 of an inch of ice, which we'll take a look at some of the probability charts here in a little bit. Once that is on the ground, it's not going to melt. Because by Monday morning, you can see here, we are well below freezing. We're at 24 degrees, 26 degrees, 27. So we're in the 20s. We might get up to 30 in Atlanta, maybe 33 or 34 in Athens on Monday afternoon. But then by Monday evening, we're really cooling down. Monday evening into Tuesday morning, getting down into the teens by that point. So Tuesday morning is going to be the coldest morning, where I was talking about we could be getting down here. We're at 15 degrees, 14, 15 degrees on Tuesday morning at 7 a.m. with wind chills easily in the single digits Tuesday morning. And then again, Tuesday, still really struggling to get above freezing, maybe 33 degrees, 34 degrees, if we're lucky on Tuesday afternoon. So again, if there's only 1/10 of an inch of ice, that might be able to melt by Tuesday afternoon. If there's more, it's not going to melt. And then again, Tuesday evening, we're plunged back well below freezing. Wednesday morning, we're back in the 20s. And then it's not till Wednesday afternoon where I think we'll be well above freezing, and we should be able to get some melting definitely by Wednesday afternoon. So possibly Tuesday afternoon, but it's a very limited shot of being able to travel on Tuesday afternoon. But by Wednesday afternoon, I would say we'll have a pretty good probability of being able to get out and around. We ordered 2 cases of water and filled gallon Ziploc bags and put them in the deep freezer to thaw if necessary. Yeah, gallon Ziploc bags is an absolute great idea there, Mike, on that. We actually did that in Miami too to kind of help keep those deep freezers cold. Grab 4 or 5, put one on each shelf with all your food. So excellent suggestion there for sure. So that's kind of the current thinking here on the temperature forecast. Let me show you. Let me pull up some of our probability charts here. All right. Let's zoom in here on the southeast. All right, here we go. All right, so this is what we call a probability map, right? So this is what's the probability of snow or ice above a certain threshold within a given period of time. So we'll start with the snow, right? Again, this is from the Weather Prediction Center. And you can see here, again, this is the 72-hour probability of snow. We'll go, this is, I think, above 8 inches, right? So the snow, the heavy snow is definitely going to be confined off to the north. Right now, thinking is really far north, up in Kentucky. Right, let's take a look at our freezing rain, because this is going to tell us a better picture here. Again, this is just through 72 hours. But you can see here it really coming through Mississippi up into Alabama. And so by tomorrow, we'll really be able to start seeing these higher this is probability of freezing rain accumulations being greater than 1/10 of an inch, right? Greater than 1/4 of an inch. You know, out here we're looking at some of these are 70% probabilities, like Greenville, Greenwood, Tupelo, that area. 70% probability greater than 1/4 of an inch. So this will be a tool, especially as we draw closer to the event, especially by Friday. We'll really be able to basically use this tool to really hone in on what's going to happen here in North Georgia. Is 60 hours firewood enough, or do I need to get more? Noah Knight asks. I would plan for a solid 72 hours to 84 hours, in all honesty, Worth. Just because the really cold temperatures that we were looking at earlier were going to be below freezing, really potentially for up to 48 to 60 hours, somewhere in that time frame is kind of the thinking. Especially if on Tuesday, on Monday, we don't get above freezing at all. And then Tuesday, we may not get above freezing. So that's a solid 2 days right there. And then we won't get above freezing until Wednesday afternoon. So we're really looking at about a solid 2.5, maybe 3 days where we're completely below freezing. And even after that, again, Wednesday, we're not going to be warm. It's not going to be like mid-50s or anything like that. It might be 40 or 42 or something like that, right? If power is out at your house and it takes them, a week, you have to really, you want to try and stay comfortable in your living room where you're at, right? So having enough firewood for a solid 3 to 4 days of consistent burning is probably a pretty good plan if you can swing it. Great question. How will schools be affected in the Loganville area? That's a little bit hard to tell this far out in advance, I'll say. I do think out in, we can really start seeing what things are going to be like out to our west, say in like Texas, Arkansas, those areas. I think everyone in here will get through this week fine. We're not going to have a problem through Friday. It'll really depend on what happens over the weekend as far as what the following Monday into Tuesday kind of looks like. Because if we do get a really warm nose of precipitation and we're able to get that freezing rain and then we get up to 40 degrees on Sunday afternoon and we just have a nice 40-degree rain, that could melt a lot of that ice. But again, the concern is any precipitation that is left on the ground, on the roads, right, on Sunday night into Monday morning it's going to be one of those flash freeze situations. So it may not be a thick layer of ice that could be on the roads, but it'll be just enough ice. It doesn't take much to make roads in Georgia, especially with the hilly terrain that we have, pretty much impassable, right? So that is the concern, is there's just going to be so much moisture with this that even if the freezing rain and the ice does melt for a brief period of time on Sunday afternoon, it is going to quickly refreeze Sunday night into Monday morning and may not melt on Monday at all. And then Tuesday, if there's very little left, it also depends on the wind that we'll have behind the front, because if we do get above, freezing, and we can get not only it to melt, but the wind to kind of help dry it out, that's where we're in a better situation here in Atlanta, where we can get the roads to melt and dry out. So the good news is behind this system, it is going to be nice and sunny. So it's just going to be bitterly cold. Especially on Tuesday morning, like we were talking about. So still too early to really get any clear idea as far as how this is going to affect schools in Loganville for next week. But through the end of this week, tomorrow and Friday, not going to be a problem. Again, just a lot of rain tomorrow and still some lingering rain showers on Friday. So good questions there. All right, let's take a look here. I did want to show you guys this too, as well, I should say. Let's zoom out. Here we go. All right, this is what I was just talking about, right? So this is a cloud cover forecast, right? So you can see here, this is the blues is cloud cover. The white is, we don't really have a whole lot going on. Let's put this in. There we go. So there's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We've got the storm going on, huge across pretty much all of the eastern U.S., nice and clear out there. And then this is Monday, so we can still see Monday. We've got a lot of clouds, 75% cloud cover here in Georgia Monday morning. And then Monday afternoon, it's not till Monday afternoon that we finally clear out with that. And then it's, pretty mostly sunny on Tuesday. And then we'll have some clouds move back in on Wednesday. So, again, with Wednesday being the day that we get above freezing, if it's not significantly above freezing with all this cloud cover that's forecast on Wednesday, that could, especially in the shady areas, that could limit the melting potential on Wednesday afternoon. So that's, again, there's all these different factors that we have to think about when we're looking at these winter storms. So what other things can we do to help prepare for the storm or power outages? Okay, I actually had someone today ask me about outdoor pools, okay? And the pipes going to the outdoor pools, and if you lose power, you lose your circulation, right? So what can you do for those outdoor pipes for your pools? Well, you can get either the little foam pipe covers, the black foam pipe covers, but if not, another option is to get like pool noodles, actually, and wrap those around the pipe. If you don't have any of that available, what I would do is get towels and duct tape and wrap those pipes in, a couple layers worth of towels and duct tape. And then if you can, get some sort of tarp or like a plastic sheeting to put over like that pump and those exposed pipes above the ground to try and insulate it as best as possible from those sub-freezing temperatures. So really that's about all you can do. I mean, if there's a way that you can drain out some of the above ground lines into the pool, then obviously do that to empty them out. But I know that is a concern with people who do have pools. Another thing that I would recommend you do is make sure you've got a way to receive weather alerts, whether that's through your phone, through an app, with limited power availability, because if an ice storm warning gets issued, you're going to need to know how long that's for. Also, not only that, monitor traffic reports and stuff like that. I love using like Google Maps and Waze and stuff like that because, we live in Atlanta. There are going to be people that are going to get stuck in this, right? They're just not used to it. They're not paying attention to the weather, whatever the case may be. So that is a source where we can monitor road conditions. We'll also can be checking in on different traffic cameras. I love checking in on like the GDOT traffic camera network so I can actually see what is going on the roadways in the area. so I can see, oh, is it actually safe to, get on the roads and stuff like that, right? What's it looking like? So those are definitely some things that you can be doing as well. As far as power outages, if you've got above ground power lines, the key thing that takes down power with these ice storms is going to be tree branches falling on them, right? Or entire trees falling on power lines. That is 9 times out of 10 what will knock out the power. Power lines can hold a good bit of weight, but once you get above 1/4 of an inch of ice on power lines, at that point, it's basically added over 500 pounds of weight. So imagine a 500-pound person sitting on top of your power line out front of your house, right? That's going to bring that power line down, right? Once you get over that 1/4 of an inch of ice threshold, you'll start seeing power outages just from the sheer weight of the ice. So excellent question there. So it is very limited. Obviously, if you've got a generator, like I said earlier, make sure you've got fuel for it. Get that now, get it tomorrow morning. I have noticed in the area, I feel like, as terrible as feel like some of the gas stations are hiking prices. I saw about a 30-cent jump from yesterday to today at some stations. I was able to get gas for about $2.49 in my area, but I saw gas over $2.80 in some areas. So, and I do believe, especially by Friday evening, when this storm's actually unfolding across Texas and Oklahoma, by that point, by Friday, we're actually really then going to know what the impacts here in Georgia are going to be. We're going to know how strong is that low pressure system. Where is that low pressure setting up across our area? Is it further south over the Gulf of Mexico, or is it more inland across central and southern Mississippi and Alabama, which would allow warmer air to surge north? If that low sets up closer to the coast, that's going to allow that basically a stationary cold front that's going to stretch from Oklahoma all the way over to North Carolina. That's going to allow that to be further south. And the further south that cold front gets and that cold air gets, and it keeps that warm, moist air off to our south, that's where we're going to have problems. So really, again, by Friday, tomorrow into Friday, is we're going to really be able to fine-tune and dial in the details on the type of precipitation that we're going to see here in Georgia and begin to get an idea as to the close to the amounts, right? And the duration. One thing that I cannot stress enough with this storm is it is a slow-moving winter storm. Slow-moving winter storm. A lot of the winter storms that we have here in Georgia typically will last about a half a day, maybe, if we're lucky. This winter storm, again, has the potential to last possibly 24 to 36 hours. Could start, again, as early as Saturday around noon, and it may not finish raining, snowing, sleeting, freezing rain, all of that until late Sunday night or overnight into Monday morning. So again, this could be a long duration. That's why we're seeing some of those snow totals out in Oklahoma and some of these areas possibly getting over 2 feet of snow, which is absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. Kevin Kreisman says, great information, much better than the major networks. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, praying for everyone in the path. This is going to be one that is going to be remembered. I mean, I remember what happened last year where we had 2 different winter storms basically within 10 days of each other. And, that was very memorable. But this is going to be potentially memorable in a much different way, with it being an ice storm. Georgia hasn't seen a significant ice storm in nearly 40 years. I think it was 1982. Someone may be older than me can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was 1982 was the last really, really big ice storm. Obviously, we had Snowmageddon, but with Snowmageddon that we had back in 2011, where there was that flash freeze that hit 285 and everyone was stranded out there for 12 hours and had to walk home, the totals on that, believe it or not, it wasn't a ton. That was about a tenth to a quarter of an inch for many areas. So it wasn't a ton. It just happened to be the timing of that storm coming through right at rush hour that caused all of that chaos and havoc. And we didn't have the equipment here in Georgia at the time, any plows, salt trucks, and stuff like that. So we have a little bit more of that now, not quite as much as, we're going to really need for this kind of event, which is, again, why I'm saying that major interstates and access to hospitals and emergency personnel, that's what's going to get cleared first. Your neighborhood street, right, out in Loganville or Monroe or up in Lilburn, they're not going to be coming through your neighborhood streets with a snowplow from the county, right, or different things like that. They're going to be clearing interstates. They're going to be clearing state routes and state highways. That's going to be their first priority. All of the neighborhoods, we're basically just going to have to wait until temperatures get above freezing to melt whatever ice ends up falling on the ground there. Can you use table salt for driveway and porch steps? Good question. You can, but it's not nearly as effective as the larger, granular salt. Maybe for porch steps, if you have a ton of it, it might help. But the problem here's the other problem. You bring up a good point with the salt. Everyone's probably thinking, "Oh yeah, I'm just gonna go buy some salt." Well, with the storm starting as potentially a rain situation, right? Especially Friday night, first part of the day on Saturday, it's probably going to start as rain for us before it switches. So if you put it out too early, the rain's going to wash all of that away, and it's going to do you no good. It's going to end up in your grass, right, or along the curb or whatever. So the timing that you put that down is going to be critical. You really want to put that down basically right as we're starting to transition from that rain to either a sleet or a freezing rain mixture. That's, if possible, that's when you want to put it down. Otherwise, it's not going to do you any good. So good question there, Jeff. Ryan Brown saying 40-pound bags of pool salt. Yeah, those are good. Exactly. For sidewalks, driveways, things of that nature. My driveway, there's a part of it where when it rains, it literally fills up with about a half an inch to an inch of water in spots. So I know that's going to become a skating rink if I don't get out there once the rain stops falling and, move that off of that area. So again, and it's different for everyone. If you have a really steep driveway, right, you're not going to be able to get down that those hilly driveways that we have here. Those are going to be mission impossible. Don't try and get out there if there's ice on it and go salt your driveway, because you're probably going to slip and fall and end up hurting yourself, and we don't want that to happen. So again, it's different for everyone. I do believe we do have some new data that's actually a new model run starting to come in for our European ensembles here. So this is starting to come in here. We only have the first 12 hours right now, so we'll have to keep an eye on that as that comes in also. And that's the thing with these models. They typically, depending on the model, Some models we get 4 updates a day. Some of them we only get 2 updates per day. So again, by tomorrow it's going to be a lot different. This live stream is going to be different because we're going to be able to look at more of what we call our convective allowing models, our high resolution data models, because we'll be within 3 days of the event. Once we get in within 84 hours of the event, that's when I can really start getting a lot clearer details on as far as how much, where. Hopefully by then we'll have a lot more model agreement as well in the picture. So we'll definitely keep you guys posted. So I think tomorrow's live stream is going to be a lot more telltale, especially for our area here in Georgia, as far as what are the temperatures looking like. Have we seen any shift in the track? We're going to have all of that data from the hurricane hunters that's going to be coming in. I want to see if they have that mission scheduled yet. Yeah, so they're actually, here we go. So this is what we were talking about. So this is they're going out to that low pressure system right now that's off the coast of California, which is going to be coming in to the United States and be our big weather maker. So they're actually en route to heading out there to get some of this data for us. So once they get that data gets back and they're able to plug that into our computer models, that's going to give us a much better handle on where the track of this is going to be. If it's going to be further north, like the latest update was showing, or if it's going to be further south. So that is what we're looking at. So again, probability of freezing rain accumulating greater than at least 1/100th of an inch. For Atlanta right now, we're sitting at about a 50 to 60% probability that we're getting at least some ice, right? Again, that's within a 24-hour period. Greater than 1/10 of an inch of ice. We're still at about 10 to 20% chance. But you can see here as you go further west, again, because this will be actually within that time period. I mean, we're talking 90% probability there. And out here in Greenwood over to Greenville, where my in-laws are at, they're going to get absolutely pounded by this ice storm. And then out here in Arkansas, so greater than 1/2 of an inch, northeast Texas. So again, by tomorrow, we'll really have a good idea on this. So make sure to tune back in tomorrow night. We'll do another live stream tomorrow. Again, right probably around 8 o'clock is when we'll do another live stream, kind of be able to really dive into a lot more into Atlanta and our surrounding areas, and because we'll have all that data coming in. So key message, key takeaways: continue to prepare for a significant ice storm. There is still high probability that we're having an ice storm. Maybe the amounts may not be quite as drastic as some of the models are showing. Maybe they will be. We don't know what the totals are going to be. It's going to depend on temperatures, how quickly we drop below freezing. If we drop below freezing earlier on the day on Saturday, it's going to be a more significant event. But if temperatures on Saturday can hang on and stay above freezing later into the afternoon, then that's going to paint a better picture for us here in Georgia. So thank you guys for tuning in. I am going to go ahead and end the live stream. Be sure to share this video on your Facebook page, Twitter, X, TikTok, whatever you got, to let people in our area know kind of what's going on. I'll keep you guys all updated, and I will see you back here tomorrow evening for another live stream. So stay safe out there. Get those preparations done by Friday, and we'll see you guys back here tomorrow evening. Have a great night, everyone.